Caracol. With minimalist intensity and limited lines and shapes, the artist is able to capture the mysterious beauty that sleeps below the snail's hard shell, introducing us to the spiral body that sits beneath it. Trialogo. In this masterpiece, the artist outlines extremes, depicting limits but also infinites, showing the tangible as well as the intangible. Object, subject, animal, gestures, and movement create one single moment in this sculptural display. In this piece, the artist Edgardo Carmona looks for accuracy in the lines, the volume, and the shapes. The dog runs towards the pedaling cyclist, attempting to bite at his heel, while at the same time challenging the bicycle itself. This sculpture depicts gestures while creating a scene with movement. Cadencia. One single sculptural masterpiece brought to life by two units that come together like in the African myth. The drum can wake up and play itself, independent of his player. The drums integrate themselves to the body and hands of the artist, as if they were one. This harmonic sculpture creates one single integrating rhythm. Mambeo. This sculpture comes together to create an homage to the indigenous Coco community in Santa Marta, Sierra Nevada. El Mamo, recognized as the tribe's leader, is brought to life in this sculpture depicting a common practice of chewing coca leaves. Territorio. This piece takes place between two parallel scenes. The artist depicts irony in the simultaneous pictures of the dog, marking his territory, while outdoors in the same way that his other subject does by leaning against the light pole. Animal and man dispute their own territory. Al galope. This piece has both intensity and restriction. The horse, although standing still, is both awake and eager to gallop. It is a beautiful and simple piece. Al filo. The knife sharpener could cut through the afternoon silence as he waited for neighbors to visit his shop with old cooking knives in dire need of sharpening. The loud sound that resonated from the knife sharpener, accompanied by the bright sparks that glittered across the neighborhood, were common surroundings of children in Cartagena. Through this piece, Carmona brings to life and rescues from the forgotten the memory of the old knife sharpener's job. Juego de Ajedrez. This piece portrays the containment of the opponents as they sit face to face across the board. Each move could lead to their redemption or to their failure. The pieces and the gestures in each of the players' faces are the result of thorough observation. The artist sketches several versions of this piece, testing his knowledge of the game and the implications of moves and scenarios to the player's expressions. It is not the same a chess player and a domino player. There is a specific spirit in each game. Negación a Baco. This piece takes place in the late evening hours, narrating the story of what takes place after the workday is over and recreates the conflicts of those that have had too much to drink as they sit around park benches. It is seen that one refuses to take another drink. The gestures of the characters and the movements of their hands in the air tell a story. In his pieces, the artist tells a story of common daily scenes, incorporating irony, humor, and studied emotions. Melómano. This sculpture captures three elements: setting, position, and mystery. It transports us to a scene where a music lover sits in his rocking chair, listening to music. Faena en la Plaza. This sculpture captures a juggler sitting atop his unicycle with his rings ready for action. The rings that ascend and descend, the wind that lashes against his body and tests his balance. Juego de Dominó. Domino players are an emblematic part of tradition and life in the Caribbean and Antilles. This piece depicts the simplicity and ease of outdoor Caribbean living. The players sit around a domino game and strategize each move based on their decoding of missing pieces to complete the game. El Vendedor de Raspao. The hands of the street vendor selling snow cones transform giant blocks of ice into minuscule pieces of shaved ice. The condensed milk perfectly drips atop the sweet flavors of lime, tamarind, and cola. The snow cone street vendor is one of the iconic characters found in the landscape of Cartagena de Indias, and in this sculpture, Carmona is able to capture the vendor in his full splendor. Vendedora de Frutas. One of the most emblematic characters of Cartagena de Indias is the female fruit seller of San Basilio de Palenque. This piece depicts the majestic figure of the Palenque with her grand fruit basket sitting above her head, as if she carried with her the weight of the world. Apareo. Resembling a symphony, this sophisticated piece recreates the act of mating, movement, intimacy, and silent music between two magnets in time.
10.0.
The sculpture creates two movements, the body of the rhythmic gymnast that plays with the cord and the spirals that spread in the wind. The piece creates one single body, a dance that defines gravity, the balance, the movement, the internal and external strengths all come together to find a sublime moment in this piece. Desove. The release of the fish eggs is defined in this sculpture as a large circle and its process in the form of curves. The artist finds in a few elements the key to recreate a moment of fertilization. Anguila. This sculpture is all about capturing the subtlety in the eel's movement. More than sculpting these sea creatures that share their life in the waters of rivers and oceans, the artist focuses on bringing to life the subtle movements that seem to flow in the air. Nostalgia de Cuerdas. The suggested completes the hand of the one who plays the strings in this sculpture. The artist discovers that the figurative can be reinvented with silence and space. Don Quijote. The sculptor recreates the famous character Don Quixote from the classic Spanish novel The Ingenious Gentleman Don Quixote de la Mancha by Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. Anxious to begin his battle, the expression of hope and illusion is clearly depicted in this adventurous character. This sculpture is also a tribute to the character Don Quixote, who embodies the utopian spirit of following one's own dreams. Utopia. Because of its message and meaning, this is perhaps the most tender piece by Carmona. Depicting an image of Simón el Bobito by Rafael Pombo, a local children's story about a boy who fishes from a bucket, Carmona gives this common story a new and happy ending, bringing triumph and happiness to Simón by giving him a fish to capture from his bucket. This piece creates a message around the Pygmalion effect and the theory of self-realization. Sintonía. A moment where time sits still and nothing else matters as the subject sits on his rocking chair, listens to some radio tune while reading a favorite book. This work of art depicts the nostalgia of passing time. The scene stays embedded in our memories forever. Brisas. Wind is the main character in this piece. The wind expresses itself by lifting the woman's skirt, scenario that the artist takes advantage of to add movement and test the woman's balance. The sculpture is built on the conjunction of external elements that affect and enrich the journey of the woman and her umbrella.